Everyone kind of knows that hummingbirds are attracted to things that are red. And I think most everyone knows that they like to feed from flowers that are trumpet-shaped. Anything that's kind of got a bright red or orange tone in particular is something they're going to be attracted to. And luckily, there's a lot of plants here in the desert that are perfectly suited to be hummingbird feeders, and several of those are in bloom here today. The main one you're going to see is something we call yellow bells or Tacoma stands. They actually can be arranged from yellow to orange to red, but that's a major attractor for hummingbirds. Salvias of all varieties are another very heat-hardy species that does well here and that hummingbirds love. We've got a red salvia actually right behind me here. Other ones they like are honeysuckle. They're fond of honeysuckle. Lilies, we've got a red lily in bloom right now that they're going to be attracted to. They don't actually have a very strong sense of smell. So visual attraction is really what they're all about. So bright flowers that have the right shape for their little beaks to get in and sip nectar out are what they're looking for. So this is another plant that's great for the gardens here in the valley. It's a Mexican native called a firecracker bush, or a hummingbird bush, actually. So obviously it's a favorite with that red tubular flower on it of the local hummingbirds, and it's great in our soil and in our heat because it's straight out of Mexico. So this is Foxglove, also known as Digitalis. Yeah, it's another one that's got a nice tubular shape and a bright color that the hummingbirds are attracted to, and lots of nectar down in at the base of that trumpet for them to lap up with their groovy little tongues. So here we have two great hummingbird attractors in bright colors. The taller one is called a red pentas, and that's really commonly available in like big box nurseries, and so is the shorter one, which is called a Sweet William or Dianthus. Both of those are very commonly available in nurseries and very popular with the hummingbirds. So for people who prefer to grow edibles in their garden, there's a lot of options for feeding the hummingbirds as well. This is a pomegranate that has that beautiful red tube-shaped flower that hummingbirds will feed from, and at the end of it you get pomegranate, so there's a bonus. This is another variety of the many salvias that we can grow here. This one is a cultivar called Wendy's Wish. It's got kind of a wider leaf than the little Greggy eyes we saw, but it's another one that's got the shape and color. Oh, so this is a succulent that's another Mexican native. It's called red yucca or false sarsaparilla. And this one is, so if you're looking for something that's less of a shrub and more of a succulent plant, this is a great choice, and another one that's very heat hardy and very sun hardy. So this is a pretty little flowering summer annual called an Angelonia. Sometimes they also call it a summer snapdragon because it's very heat tolerant compared to the regular snapdragons, but has a very similar little flower, again with that trumpet shape to it. Does very well in the warm season here. Hummingbirds don't only eat nectar. They also eat small insects, and quite a few. They're actually one of the major sort of consumers of insects amongst the bird kingdom. So, things that we can do to help them with that part of their diet are to, for example, let our herbs actually flower out instead of just picking them all before they flower. Those flowers actually attract an enormous number of small flying insects that the hummingbirds can then zoom by and eat. Also, if you've got a compost bin, there's little gnats and things that fly up from the compost. I notice whenever I lift up my compost bin lid and start working with it, the hummingbirds will start dive bombing because they're going after all these little insects in my compost. So anything we can kind of do to encourage tiny flying insects, or just by letting things flower out and attract not only the hummingbirds with a diversity of flowers that are going to attract their attention, but is also going to attract other creatures that the hummingbirds rely on, like tiny insects. So having a whole diverse system really is part of what encourages a hummingbird to come and stay. Also having a water source, especially a running or misting water source, is something that attracts hummingbirds because they need to drink too. I only recently found out a lot of hummingbird feeders. Well, number one, I think a lot of people know that you're not supposed to put red food coloring into the hummingbird feeder. As long as you've got something red on it, they'll find it. And the food coloring may be harmful to their systems. Another thing people may not realize is that sometimes those hummingbird feeders will have little yellow accents on them, but those actually may attract wasps and bees. So Our recommendation is kind of to remove those yellow elements, paint them red, or just remove them altogether, and that way you won't get wasps and bees competing with your hummingbirds. It's good to have feeders out there, it really is, it helps them out, but sort of, within parameters, the correct proportion of water to sugar, which is typically 4 parts water to 1 part sugar, and just not putting anything else in there and making sure you're cleaning it out regularly so mildew doesn't get in there, which can actually harm the hummingbirds if they ingest it.